Okay, thank you. Well, I think your timing is perfect because, you know, Lakeshore's MRF is going to be open and Memorial Arena does have a lot of sentimental value here in the community. So I think it's best that we do explore all options before the wrecking ball comes out. I want to entertain the idea. I have some reservations about jumping right in. I'd like to see a report come back from administration with the pros and the cons, because right now it looks like all pros. I do know that there are a few cons, and I would like to see those cons. One of the cons could have been, you know, maybe a military group wanted to, you know, they were interested as well. Maybe, you know, it was earmarked for a possible dog park location in the future. I do want to see all the pros and cons according to what our administration, I don't know, I'm just throwing it out there. I'm just saying that the land does have some value for the town. You know, and the value could very well be the Ravens using it. That could, you know, I'm all for that. I think it's great. You know, we have the youth coming to us screaming they need more things to do, and I don't know, maybe you could work in conjunction with the military muster and they could still, I don't know, rent the space. I don't know what that looks like. What I do remember from the structural report 3 years ago is that to me it was, and I am no engineer, but to me it appears to be, and oh, it's great, like everything appears to be, but what is it really? And also the structural report lacked any analysis on any electrical issues in the building. So, when I don't know who's paying for that structural report is one question that I have. If we do another report, are we paying for it? You know, maybe that's something we could justify paying for if we knew that we had, you know, a facility for the Ravens. So that's one question I'd like to see coming out of the report is how much is the structural analysis going to be? Who's going to pay for that? And I also have a concern about liability. If something does happen, who is liable? You know, we've had instances like 49 Talbot Street, and I don't want to go through that again. You know, if I could walk away right now, today, and say, okay, we don't have to pay any more money with our tax dollars, and we know it's going to be good to go, then yeah, sign me up. But I think it's a bit more complicated than that. So when the time is right, I'd just like to make a recommendation that administration prepare a report on this issue, and we and they meet with you and consult with you, of course, during this report, but that we'd like to see all the pros and the cons, you know, what we can get and what we're also losing. So then we can go back to the taxpayers and say, this is what the offer is, and yeah, we would love to see this all happen. I think we just need to make sure that we dot our I's and cross our T's and cover our high knees when it comes to liability. So thank you.
Okay, I have Councillor Scott and then the CEO, Russ Phillips.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. Thanks for coming tonight, gents. A couple years ago, I was in the Let's Tear It Down camp, and I know we had other councillors on that, but I think I've had an epiphany moment here, and I think we have an opportunity here to keep this, because I know it is sentimental. I know there's a business plan going to come forward associated with this. I know our administration will provide us with all those details, but tonight I'm in support and principle of this idea. So that's all I want to say. I think the rest has been covered by council.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Phillips.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you. Certainly appreciate the comments that a report should come forward, I think, from administration. There's a number of concepts. Appreciate the presentation this evening. This is not the first group, and I know you've been here before, and there's a number of ideas around that facility and that property. A few concerns immediately come to the attention of when and if the town is to sell that or sever that piece of property away from its ownership. The first point that comes to my mind is parking. There's no parking associated with that particular property if it was to be severed off without cutting into or organizing. So there's coordination issues around some of those things. Going back to what Mr. Sweet said in terms of the structural report, I think the last report that we have talks about a number of things, as Councillor Bondi had said too. It spoke in terms of what might be. What is evident is that it does not meet current building standards. So if things were to be done, if it was to be changed in operation, and those are the things that I think we need to look at, is that if we're taking it out of use as a ICE facility and it moves into another area, that those are the things we would have to closely look at with the, not just with our own building people, but probably provincially as well. There is some heaving of the concrete. There were some safety issues identified. And the roof, as Doug had alluded to earlier, with the snow loads we experienced this year, it might have been there could have been some further damages. We're not sure. We haven't done that analysis, but those are things that would have to be looked at. But I certainly welcome the notion of sending it back to administration for further review, taking into context that there are other groups out there that have shown some interest, and as was suggested, for administration to review the pros and cons, sit down with you folks, look at a business plan in terms of the financial aspects of it, and come back to council for further report.
Excuse me, just sorry if I can just interlude again. As I understand, both the Twin Pad Arena and the hockey arena now is both in use, correct? They're both being used? So parking is, they have parking for both facilities are being used right now in the parking lot, correct?
The issue is, if it's an issue of parking, is yes, it is, but there are evenings or there's events where the town takes over that entire lot. I'm thinking of the Fun Fest or other events, the Southern Ontario Military Muster, for example, where all of those facilities were used. There's no clear delineation right now that I'm aware of that would say this is the property that belongs to that arena. So there'd have to be arrangements. It's not a showstopper by any means. I'm just suggesting there would have to be negotiations on those types of issues as well. If you were to own it and take it on as your own enterprise, I know planning would have a particular issue because you would not have parking. You couldn't demonstrate that you had sufficient parking, so it becomes a problem for council.
I have Councillor Vokes wanting to make a motion first. Okay?
We're obviously just going to back up a little bit, and I'm going to put a motion forward that council receives a report from administration on the current arena, and we get a updated engineer report on the stability status of the arena. And again, I don't know what, maybe we can get some direction from Doug based on what his files are suggesting to him on what our last report, the attached cost to doing that from the engineer. Do we know that, Doug, by any chance?
Through you, Your Worship, the last report did have estimated costs, but I think from the 3 years, and especially the winter, we definitely want to have a directive for a new report on what any cost repairs that would have to meet code would be required.
Okay. Anyways, I will make that my motion. That because you know, I want to be open about it, and I don't want to suggest put any fear in anybody. But if can we get a second round motion before we talk about it? Okay, sure, that's fine. Yeah, absolutely.
Deputy Mayor Malash supports. Okay.
All right, thank you. And I'll just make this quick. Is I don't want to suggest that the taxpayer's on the hook for it, but at the end of it all, if we were to make it work, we're $200,000 to the taxpayer benefit with another facility for our youth and organized sports to use. So I think there's some I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I think there could be tentatively, and I say tentatively, some financial support there, recognizing that we wouldn't have a teardown cost, right? We wouldn't have a teardown cost. And I'm not suggesting all that money would go to that, but a percentile I don't believe is out of the question to do it with still showing a diligence as it relates to the tax dollar.
Okay, I have Councillor Bondi and Councillor Baker.
My one concern, and I'm not sure if Councillor Vokes it's a possibility, if we can see the report before we actually order the structural analysis. That's the way I'm leaning. I would like to see the report and say, okay, this is the structural analysis is going to cost A, and option B is going to cost this. And I think we really, and plus I don't believe we even have the cost of the report in our budget. Not saying it can't be, of course it can be, because we have the cost of demo in the budget, but I think I'm leaning towards seeing the cost of the report, the cost of the structural analysis in the report, and then voting on it as we see it then.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Baker.
Yeah, I hear you, Your Worship. Yeah, I think Councillor Bonnie makes a good point, and I was going to bring this up as well. Maybe your motion, we want to see this, we want to see what the opportunity this provides. So we need a report, but I don't think we want to have the cost of engineering before the report. What we need to do is find out what those costs were. Then we're going to know who bears the cost if we move forward on a project like this. So I think if you may, amendment to your motion is to ask a report from council to seek what these opportunities might look like before going to a full engineering report, because that's going to be significant cost. While that cost estimate could be in the report, we need to discuss it, because maybe I can get from Doug. Doug, what was the last cost? Or anybody know the cost of the last report, the engineering report? It was
Through your worship, most between $4,000 to $6,000 is a normal engineering report.
I'm hearing 30,000.
30? No.
Donna, can I get what was our last cost on it, do you recall?
I'm going to have to see if I have that here, and then I'll come back to you if I do.
The point is, I would say if we can get a friendly amendment to the motion that looks at what the opportunities are for this, so council can look at it and look at all cost potentials. Well, actually, look at all benefits of this, really, because we don't want to start spending money on it until we see what it is. So that would be maybe a friendly amendment, because we all want to see this moving forward, but we don't want to spend the money yet.
I don't have any problem doing that, and you knew there was a but. And I want to see 10 of timelines. I want to see a 10 timeline that council receives a report no later than this date, reviewed by council, position submitted, and then a engineer study done by this date. If the report satisfies that of council, so at least they leave here knowing that council's going to receive a report within 7 business days, a day to review. Can't do it in 7 business days?
I would just like to remind that administration is still working hard on our budget, sir, so 7 days, I think.
Well, whatever the timeline is then, like, I just don't want them leaving here tonight saying that council's going to get a report, and when's the report coming? How long does it take council to review it? I would just like to see some form of a tentative timeline when we receive the report and approve or deny the report, which they'll know exactly where it is. So they can leave here knowing that in a 14-day period, they'll have an answer on the report.
Okay, Mr. Phillips, and then Glenn.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, one of the things that I think is being lost on the discussion to a certain degree is that administration is working on a master plan. And that master plan takes into account what do we do with Memorial, what do we do with that corner property, and what's the future of the recreation facilities in terms of the community. That is being tasked to administration, and that is something we are coming back to you with, not to suggest that this plan or that this proposal advances that, but it certainly throws a bit of a wrench in it in terms of the overall considerations. And I know Mr. Sweet is continuing to work on that. And there, as I said earlier, there are other groups and other situations, I guess, that would look to that, coveting that corner, whether that building is there or not. Whether the building is there are other groups. Whether the building is not there are other opportunities for the community. So I think it behooves the consideration of administration to come forward with a further report, really, to speak in terms of what to advance that conversation. I don't know that you need another structural analysis done. I believe that the 2011 report, a small touch-up on that report, if we were able to go back to that consultant quickly and take a look at the loading. There were a few things at it, and perhaps we could sit down with Mr. Nepsey, who is an engineer, get his opinions on a few things as well, get a bit of a quick analysis on what the conditions are and whether or not, what angle we have to take. But I think by the next council meeting, which is the 7th of April, through to administration, I think that that's possible to come back to you at that point in time with a report.
Okay, Mr. Mills.
I just want to mention quickly, the last report, and I mean, there was a lot of what-ifs. If we're moving forward and we're going to put in the kind of money we're putting in, again, from a wet facility to a dry facility, there's a tremendous difference on what you have to have done and what you don't have to have done. So, I mean, I don't want to go by a 2011 what-if report if we're going to put forward this kind of money that we're going to raise to put forth and come up with. So, I mean, you know, I'd appreciate it if we get a structural report and a solid one from going from a wet facility to a dry facility, as we don't need the ice pads and stuff like that. It's not any value to us.
Sorry, bad boy. We have a motion on the floor. Should allow Mr. Mills to speak. So, Councillor Bowman's next.
Yeah, I think that we look at it that we have money in the budget, I think, to take out I'll say the ice making equipment that's in there. So that portion is still in the budget. I don't know how much more is still there, but I know that particular bit. So even if the budget is passed, that portion can get done which would need to be done anyway, so that portion is there. And I like the idea that administration comes back fairly quickly with a report on what direction we should be going in, rather than, as Brandy says, do the studies right off the bat. So if you amend your motion, I'd certainly appreciate it.
Okay, we're back to you, Councillor Vokes.
I'm not going to change my motion. I'm going to
Okay.
leave my motion just the way it is.
Okay.
And somebody,
I'll ask-
and then you can vote it down
Yep.
as a council, and then a new
do that.
motion can be tabled. I'm sticking with my
Yep.
motion that we get a report from administration, we move forward with the study.
That's fine. We'll have the motion read again, so we'll understand what it was. You got that, mate? Oh, kind of, okay.
Okay, moved by Councillor Vokes, seconded by Deputy Mayor Lash, that the presentation be received and that administration prepare a report on the pros and cons of this transformation and obtain an updated engineering report of the facility, which includes a structural analysis in the report.
Ready for the question? All in favor of the motion? Opposed? Motion is defeated. Further motion. Councilor Baker.
I move that we ask administration to come back with a report, including options on the master plan, as well as this opportunity meeting with them. And then we'll look at updating the engineering report if we have to after that, with the current engineering report.
Support. Councilor Bondy. Support, and you have the floor.
If we could ask that we try to make the April 7th deadline, and then this way we'll know. Also, I don't think if we were to order a structural analysis right now, it would happen before April 7th. So really, I think we're going to do both at the same time.
Ready for the question? All in favor of the motion? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Thank you, gentlemen. Swiftly as we can. By the way, congratulations on a very successful year again this past year, and to the soccer players also, sir. Our next delegation is Mr. and Mrs. Bernauer, and I see they're in attendance. So thanks for your patience.
Hi. This is so nice here. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here tonight. And I apologize. I missed the memo about the PowerPoint presentation. I feel unprepared because I could have brought in some great pictures from the 2012 rodeo with all the kids and all the fun and all of that, so I apologize about that. But the reason that we're here is first of all, we want to thank you very much. We want to show our appreciation and gratitude for all of the support that the town of Essex provided us with the 2012 Country 95.9 Rock and Rodeo event. We want to thank you for recognizing the significant economic impact, social and environmental impact that this event had on our community, and for designating it as an event of municipal significance. We want to thank you for allowing us to install a temporary portable sign in the yard right next to the town hall to let the community know about the event. And the 2012 event was the largest rodeo event in southwestern Ontario, the second largest rodeo event in all of Ontario, second only to the Holstein Rodeo. The 2012 Country 95.9 Rock and Rodeo was voted the best rodeo of the year in all of Ontario by the Ontario Rodeo Association. Our attendance and impact on the community surpassed our expectations and continued long after the event. And what I mean by that, I have two examples I want to just share with you. One is the local tack shop in town. After the rodeo, they were getting customers coming in that didn't even have a horse and never had a horse in their life, but they were getting cowboy hats, cowboy boots, because they had so much fun at the rodeo that they wanted to incorporate the Western style into their life. So I thought that was pretty nice for our community. The second one, which was probably the most impactful thing for me, and especially after that rodeo, it was a lot of work and a lot of stress, and so I was like, oh my gosh, like it was just kind of overwhelming. But I was at a local horse show down the road, and I was on one of my beautiful gray mares, and this family came up, and I noticed too at even the local club shows we were getting more spectators, and this family came over to me, and the mother had a baby in her arms, and the father was holding on to the hand of his little girl, and she's all excited looking up at me on my horse, and the father came over and he said, excuse me, he said, do you mind if I get a picture of you with my daughter? And I said, sure, no problem, of course. And he said, yeah, I took my family to that rodeo out at the museum, and ever since then, all my daughter talks about are cowgirls. So I thought, that was just such a great, impactful story that tells me that it's really worth it. And we have noticed more of an interest in horse events. The other thing is that the reason that I'm here is it's a great opportunity to announce and to share our excitement and welcome your support again for the upcoming 2014 Country 95.9, 92.7 Rock and Rodeo event. And this event will take place this May 17th and 18th in Essex at the Canadian Transportation Museum in Heritage Village. And I just want to comment on what a great venue the Canadian Transportation Museum has been for us. It is a great facility for large events in our community, and they have been so helpful. It's a not-for-profit charitable organization that's all run by volunteers, and they have just been great with us. So we're really happy that they're welcoming us back, and they're actually taking on more of a partnership role with us this year. We also have confirmed another action-packed weekend that is going to feature fun for all ages to enjoy. We've confirmed a world-class rodeo. The Canadian Cowgirls Precision Drill Team are coming back. We have top country artists. We actually, today is the official day that we've been able to announce our headliner band, who is Brett Kissel. And Brett Kissel is actually up for 2 of the Juno Canadian Music Awards. He's up for Country Music Album of the Year, and he's also up for Breakthrough Artist of the Year. So we're really excited to have him. We also have confirmed a local up-and-coming band. The Mike Ure Band will also be playing. We have 2 stages this year. We have a local point-awarded horse speed show that will be there as well. So you're going to see some of the old school, like the barrel racing, the pole bending, the flag race, and the down and back. We're going to have pony rides and a petting zoo. Our petting zoo that we have this year is fantastic. They actually are going to be bringing some exotic animals as well. Of course, we'll have the line dancing lessons, a food corral vendor village, and this year we've also added a horse roundup that will be showcasing different horse breeds and disciplines, as well as some of our local champions. We're also going to have a demonstration tent that will do different exhibits like horseshoeing, and we're going to actually have an incubation display as well, showing different size of eggs and how long that takes. Just a way to kind of educate and inspire our community on different aspects of the country life. We're also adding a cowboy church service to kick off on our Family Day on the Sunday. And on this Sunday for Family Day, all kids are free all day. So we would like to just kind of share that excitement and tell you that every day we're going to be adding more and more items to our website as we get them confirmed. We have a list of things I'd like to announce, but I want to wait until that's confirmed. We would also like to request from the town of Essex that again this event be recognized and designated as an event of municipal significance. To us, that just is like a reward to say that the town of Essex supports us and they do recognize the value of an event like this. We would also like to request permission again to place a temporary portable sign 1 week prior to the event in the yard in the downtown area, just to help raise awareness and let the community know what's happening down the road. We would also like to request permission to use, I don't even know if this is possible, if we could use or rent or hire, but there's been a lot of renovations and improvements made to the grounds so that they could offer more large events like ours. And with the construction, with all of that, it has turned up a lot of stones. And it just is, we want to make it a better area for the horses and for the cowboys and things to compete. So we just wonder if there's any way possible we could use the raker that you use. We've actually been looking online to see if we could get our hands on one, and they're very hard to find. So we just wonder if we could possibly use the raker before the event to just try to get up some of those stones out of the rodeo pen, that area. And again, just thank you for having us here, and we want you to save the date, May 17th to 18th, and join us for another great weekend. And I will be also inviting all of you probably in the next month or so with tickets, and hoping that you'd be able to join us and be part of our opening ceremonies on the Sunday for Family Day. And to help you get into the mood, we actually want to let you know about the museum is actually having a Western Murder Mystery Dinner on April 5th, and we're actually going to be giving away free rodeo tickets for the best dressed cowboy and cowgirl. So clean out your closet and come out and have a good time and help us get in the spirit of the rodeo. And with your permission, Your Worship, if I could ask Mickey Mulder to just pass out some invites for the Western dinner, if you could pass it out to your friends. And you already have the cards. It looks like someone passed out the cards that the museum has with all of their events for the year.
Okay, thank you very much. Councilor Baker.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you for that. And what I both like to thank you for is that on both of your collateral here, you're putting the fact that you are in Essex. I know that. And it's always been an issue with us that the address says Kingsville, but it's not. It's actually in Essex, and we're working on trying to get that changed as well. So I just have one question with administration, if I can, but I'm going to support your request, but I need to ask through Your Worship to Doug. The request for the graders, the beach grader, is that a quality of something that we just use on the beach? I don't know. I mean, I know they're having a difficulty finding one. Maybe you can tell me.
Through Your Worship, that would be my concern as the beach groomers for kind of granular base. So I had concerns with this use, but I would have to follow up with their facility operator.
Okay, so then, barring that, I would move all your requests, being recognized as a significant economic environmental event, and as long as we don't break our own sign bylaws, can they have the sign on the front lawn?
Okay. Move the sign. Good. Support by Councilor Bowman. Any questions? Councilor Scott?
Just a comment through Your Worship. Welcome back to the Rock and Rodeo. That's wonderful. I'm glad you guys are back this year. And I really like the fact you've made it Family Day on Sunday and you've added the church service. I think that's a nice touch. Well done.
Thank you. Anything further? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We go to number 7. Oh, yes, go ahead, Mick. Sure. Thank you very much. Unfinished business, Chief Administrative Officer's Office, report number CEO 2014-01, joint and several liability. We have a recommendation. 2 recommendations. Councilor Bonding? Councilor Bowman, okay. On both items? Yep. Okay, supported by Councilor Bondi. Any questions? Deputy Mayor Malash.
Through Your Worship. I don't see the attached letter here when I'm looking, but I think I noticed that it was going to Kathleen Wynne, Premier of Ontario, but it wasn't going to the other party leaders. I don't know if that's correct or not. I think it should go to all 3 party leaders and also to AMO, the AMO office, president of AMO, or if those people could be copied as well. Thank you.
Okay. Anything further? All in favor? Motion carried. B, Association of Municipalities of Ontario Joint and Several Liability. It's all the same? No, there is a different one. Motion to receive? Looking for a motion to receive. Councillor Baker? Councillor Scott, any questions? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. 8, reports from administration. Building Department report CBN CBS 02-14. February Building Report 2014. Deputy Mayor moves receipt. And Councillor Scott supports. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries. B, Corporate Services Report number 2014-03. Spay and Neuter Voucher Program. Councillor Bondi moves with the recommendations. Yep, supported by Councillor Bowman. Sherry?
I'd like to add, in the report titled, there's 2 recommendations. It says that we receive the report, that we carry the unused funds from the 2013 to the 2014 budget. And I would like to ask that, that we pass the free roaming cat portion of the voucher program tonight, because I feel like it's time sensitive. We're heading into spring, and before we know it, we're going to have baby kittens everywhere. So I know this isn't typical that council moves something up and approve it ahead of budget, but it certainly is fitting, and I would appreciate council support on this. I know we have residents in the audience, not only from Essex, but from the city of Windsor and Essex County here to support. Heather is from the town of Essex, but we're setting a precedent in our town, and we have other communities actually following us, which is great. The town of LaSalle is now doing a pilot program with vouchers, and yeah! Go to LaSalle. And the town of Tecumseh is also doing a voucher program as well. So I think that it's imperative that we continue on doing, supporting our vouchers. And I'm getting compliments all the time in the town of Harrow that there's less and less unwanted animals. And we've made a lot of headway last year. And I think, hopefully one day we won't need a voucher program anymore, but I think we're getting there. And it's certainly, trap, neuter, release is a very humane method of taking care of unwanted and reducing the amount of unwanted pets. So I appreciate council's historical support, and I'm looking for the support tonight again.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Malash.
Through you, Your Worship. I just want a little further explanation on the point 2 of the recommendations to Ms. Hunter. So it says that if council approves the spay and neuter voucher program, that the unused spay and neuter voucher budget from 2013 would be reserved to offset the 2014. So I think we're budgeting the same amount of money as last year, and we don't have to put as much money in this year because we're pulling those reserves forward. Is that what we're doing?
Yes, through you, Your Worship. Basically, we're budgeting identical to last year, except for in 2013 we did not use some of the funds, $7,725. So what I'm suggesting is that we go into reserve to offset what we do for 2014, but on the same basis as 2014.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd just like to speak towards supporting this, but there is a but. Randy knows what I'm talking about. We have one citizen in Essex Center complains daily to me about the 15 cats that this neighbor lady is feeding. They end up on his property, on his porch. They can't sit outside any time of the year, summer, and they have kids right across the street that come over and play in their yard, and it's disgraceful what these 15 cats are doing to their property. He's tried to catch them. I've helped him catch them. We have caught some in the past, and I've taken a load up there myself for the gentleman. He cannot catch these cats. They just sit there and laugh at him, It's terrible. We must do something to help this citizen. He tells me daily, because I have coffee with him in the morning, I pay my taxes here and I can't even sit on my porch anytime through the summer. He would sure love to be able to do something illegal to get rid of them, but he's held back, and he's held back. We must help this person. I know Donna. I've been to Donna half a dozen times. We've called the Humane Society. This is a great project, but what do we do with the people that can't catch the cats, that we need to get rid of? Sherry?
Thank you. If a program like this would have been around 10, 15 years ago, hopefully this problem wouldn't be here. If we don't support a program like this, we will have more neighbors calling. And, I don't know, maybe we have connections here. Maybe there are people here in the audience that would be willing to help, I know, and to teach tidbits. It's one of these things that last year, I wanted to vote on this, and I wanted to say I have a net conflict of interest on this program, because last year, after we approved this program, I spent at least $500 of my own money in gas and, rabies shots getting these cats done. So, really and honestly, if we don't pass this program, I'm going to be richer. But anyways, I want this program to pass. If we fix these cats, they fight less, they spray less, they breed less. So that's why it's imperative that we pass programs like this. Also, there's what's called a vacuum effect with cats in neighborhoods. If you take these cats out and you dump them somewhere or bring them to the Humane Society to be euthanized, we will have a migration in of cats, which likely aren't fixed. So that's important to get pockets of cats that are fixed. If all of the cats, all of the free-roaming cats in the town of Essex were fixed, we would keep LaSalle's cats out and Kingsville's cats out and Amherstburg's cats out, and all of our cats would be fixed. And then gradually over time, we would see less free-roaming cats. And that's where we have to hit this with two sides. And the second side is we need to revamp our program for low-income families. Because, whether we want it or not, low-income families are going to own animals. And sometimes they can't afford to fix these animals. In low-income families, they move out or their cats get lost, and then their animals are causing the problem. They're breeding. And so if this is a two-pronged approach, fix all the outdoor cats, get 70% or more if we can, have the low-income families uptake on this program, and Donna's going to work on that if council approves it, then that's how we can get this. I understand your neighbor is upset, and I had neighbors in Harrow that were upset too, and it literally took me in my car renting cages from Town Hall, helping her trap cats and getting them fixed. That's what it is. You can throw money at it too, but we need to find residents in the community that are willing to help trap. And I don't know, I can't drive to Essex Center in the morning and do this. I did 15 cats in Harrow Center last year, but maybe there is somebody in Essex Center that will help, and maybe we can use our communications director and try to get what we need to do. They have a great program, Earn Your Wings, in Windsor. We need to do something like that in Essex Center, where we have an organizer saying, hey, I'm not willing to, I don't have any cats, but I'm willing to trap and drive. It's about pairing people that are willing to trap and drive with people that have cats, and that's all we need to do. We've done it in Harrow. We can do it in Essex Center too. The program's working, but if we don't approve it now, the problem's just going to get worse. He's going to have 20 cats next time and 50 cats, and they're all going to be spraying.
But this gentleman, I may add, has probably taken 20 up there in the past year. This crew that he has right now, he cannot catch them. I've tried. We've got traps all over the place at his house. They will not enter. Why? Because this lady probably next door, well, I know she feeds them. She doesn't care. She feeds them. And they've had that problem around that same area for 10 years. It's right around the Essex Free Press, on Ellis Street. They've had that problem. This guy keeps asking me, what do we do? It's great. He would love to catch him, take him up there and do what he has to. He's not scared to pay for this. How does he catch them? So we can get rid of them. We have one gentleman out here that would like to make a speech. Yes, we need a motion to... Oh, we have a motion on the table. Okay. You must wait, sir. But we'll hear from you after. But anyways, we have a motion on the table. I'll quit that. Hopefully, I'll give you the guy's phone number and you can tell me what to do, to have him to do. Because I'm going to give him everybody else's phone number and tell them to start bugging you people. Because the town, like he says, has to do something to help him. He's at his wit's end. So anyways, all in favor of the motion? Oh, Councillor Baker, comment.
Thank you. This is about fixing, working on a problem now so that this doesn't happen in the future. That's another approach. We'll have to look at that, get people involved. But let's just pass this. Let's get it going. It's working. That's the bottom line. You can't sit and complain about it. It's working. We'll figure out a problem later.
You're
so
right.
I want to vote for it. Let's go.
And if you hadn't said anything, I was ready to ask the question. All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, we have a gentleman in the crowd that would like to... Second, all in favor? Motion carries. Mike?
I need his full name, please.
What's your... Mike? What's his name?
We have special traps that we make ourselves that catches cats. It won't go into the live trap. So if he
Mike what? J-B-O-R.
Sure.
Mike Gabor.
So you're gonna allow, it's gonna turn into a circus now. Mrs. Vivier wants to speak now. You're gonna get her to speak.
push the blue button.
Oh, there we go. About your friend there that can't catch the cats, we have a great program in Windsor. It's the Earn Your Wings program. We have 100% catch rate. There's no cat that can elude us. We have special traps that we've made. We've had traps that we call turkey traps. Every single cat we went to trap, we've trapped. I can help your friend in a heartbeat. He can have his cats all done by tomorrow. I mean, if we set up for tonight, we could have them in for tomorrow, but I have a trap. It's called a super trap. We can catch 5, 6 at a time, guaranteed 100%. So,
Okay,
the
thank
problem...
you, sir. I'll get you his phone number.
Yep.
Or I'll get your phone number to him.
Okay, I train people now. I'm like the foreman to a bunch, and a lot of people that are carrying all over Windsor. If it wasn't St. Patrick's Day today, this place would be packed. But we can help for sure. We have a great program.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Sherry, did you see Mrs. Vivier up here?
Make a motion for Mrs. Vivier to speak. She's been waving her hand all the time.
Support by Councillor Baker. All in favor of the motion? Motion carries.
With all the vets that we have, and veterinarians that we have in town, honestly, if we could get a hand from them who are in the track.
Go ahead, Councillor Bonnie.
Thank you. By approving this tonight, I believe administration sends out letters to all the local vets, and then the vets respond back whether they want to participate in fixing free roaming cats. Because not every vet wants to be bombarded in their mornings with cages of cats. But certainly, the vets have been on board in slashing their prices and very accommodating.
Okay, where are we at? C. Now we're at C, Corporate Services Report number 2014-05, Statement of Remuneration and Expenses Paid 2013. Councillor Bowman? Councillor Baker, any questions? Councillor Bondi?
Just a quick question to administration. The conference policy, we earmarked that to come back in the first quarter of 2014. Is that coming back April, May, anytime soon there, Donna?
Through your worship, that is my priority right now. That's the one I'm working on. So I'm working towards at the very beginning of April if necessary, but it's right at the top of my list.
Okay. All in favor? Motion carries. Corporate Services Report number 2014-04, Bill 69, Prompt Payment Act 2013. Two recommendations. Receipt M. Donna Hunter, before, please.
Through your worship, I just want to mention that last week after I had written a report and had been sent to the clerk for the agenda, we met with Taraz Nadashak about the Bill 69 and outlined some of these concerns, and because he's on that committee that's considering this bill, he was very welcome to hearing these and welcome to seeing council's output in terms of going forward with his recommendations.
Okay. Councillor Bowman? Supported by Councillor Bondi. Any questions? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. Number E, Planning Report Number 2014-06, Hero Community Improvement Plan. Councilor Baker moves, supported by Councilor Scott. Any questions? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. Planning Report Number 2014-08, Essex Center Community Improvement Plan. It was in the motion. Yep. Okay. This is for the Essex Center Ward 1. Councilor Baker? Yep. Okay. Supported by Councilor Scott. Councilor Baker.
Your Worship, maybe I can ask Heather to explain. We've had, I know it's early on in this whole process, but we've had some of the merchants in the Essex Centre inquire about the formula in terms of facade improvement, and given the fact that typically their frontages are very narrow and taller, and the formula kind of refrains from any opportunity in there. Could you maybe speak to your discussions you had with the merchants?
Yes, thank you. Through you, Your Worship. I met with Sean and Colleen, who are the owners of Two Waves, at, I believe it's 45 Talbot Street North here in Essex. I think it was within a couple of days of the public meeting that we had for the Essex Center CIP. And as a result of that meeting, we discovered that the eligibility amount that they would be entitled to for the facade improvement grant would be very minimal. More particularly, the way the CIP is worded right now, it doesn't have a lot of detail because it's still in the approval process, but it will, the plan is for it to be exactly the same as the Harrow CIP. So the way it's worded, it's 50% of construction costs up to a maximum of $12,000, but it's at a rate of $250 per linear meter per story. And their building is very narrow. I measured it on the aerial photographs, and it's about maybe a little over 5 meters. But if we used 5 meters at $250 per linear meter, that would only give them $1,250. My understanding is that just to remove the awning that's hanging at the front of the building would cost over $2,000 because they need to rent a crane. And they've got wonderful plans to improve the facade of the building. With the way the eligibility is set out in the CIP for Harrow right now, to adopt the exact same thing for Essex would end up, I think, being very restrictive for the property owners.
So then what's your solution for that formula?
My recommendation would be to be simple. We want to see the money used because of the potential for spin-off effects. My recommendation would be to go for 50% of construction costs up to a maximum of $12,000. And just simple as that. But I would also recommend that if we're going to do that for Essex, we should be doing the same thing for Harrow.
Thank you. So is this the forum tonight to discuss, or does that have to come back in a report? I'm not sure what the process is.
Through you, Your Worship, we only need a resolution of council in order to make those changes.
Move that resolution then.
You're going to include that in the motion, the resolution? Yeah. But you can... Supported by Councilor Votes. Any question, Councilor Votes?
Yes, so Heather's going to understand this.
Through Your Worship, it's, if you were to spend $24,000 or more, then you would get $12,000. Other than that, it would be half of what you put into it. Up to maximum of $12,000.
Anything further to the motion? All in favor? Motion carries. G. Planning, report number 2014-09, zoning ZBA 05-13, and site plan control SPC-07-13. Supported by Councillor Scott. Any questions? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. Get her going, Mel. Where are we at? H, Community Services Report Number CS 2014-005, License Agreement with the Essex Sports Wall of Excellence Committee. Two recommendations. Deputy Mayor Malash, moved both, supported by Councillor Baker. Any questions? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. I, Community Services Report Number CS 2014-006, Alcohol Risk Management Policy. Two recommendations also. Councillor Scott?
Move the recommendation to a comment or question.
Yes, sir. Councillor Baker supports. Councillor Scott?
Thank you, through your worship, to Doug. And I think this is great, and to Cynthia as well. This is good. I like this. The question I had was, what about some of the places we have in our town, like Coan Park? What kind of, how would they fall under this as well? Because I don't see them obviously listed as a facility.
Through your worship, that is correct. These fall under anything we directly manage. So like the Harrow Fair Board with the Egg Society and Coan Park. We will meet with them and give them kind of our recommendations and thought, but this is directly for anything that we manage directly.
Deputy Mayor Malash, Councillor Bowman.
Thank you, through your worship. To Doug or Cynthia, there's a $5 million insurance coverage request, and I'm wondering where the $5 million has come from. Is that, I know there were a number of other reports that were quoted as being, were sort of following their guidelines, but was it $5 million in those other reports as well? Or is it something that we just decided that we thought it should be higher?
Sorry, through your worship. We did a report to council, I believe, in October of 2012, which was our insurance report. And with that, we developed an insurance matrix and applied the $5 million to all alcohol-related events based on the level of, or degree of, what's the word I'm looking for? Risk. But we did pass that about a year and a half ago at that rate.
Thank you. So I may ask the question then, what are other communities doing? I just think the $5 million is going to be prohibitive in trying to get people to rent facilities and have alcohol at their event.
We're about in the, oh, sorry.
Sorry, and just to follow up on that a little bit, my concern is that, and I know that we've had this problem at Coan Park, where we've asked for $2 million worth of coverage, and they'll say to us, no, we're not going to have alcohol at the event. Then they get a liquor license without us knowing that they've got a liquor license. They don't have the insurance. And if we don't go there to double check to make sure that there's no liquor, or even worse yet, some family member at a family reunion brings liquor in their cooler to the park, and we have no idea that they're drinking, and they have not got the insurance coverage because it's too expensive. How do we combat that if we make it too expensive?
Through your worship, one thing is there's a checklist that is part of this policy that we would have to follow to make sure all those conditions, insurance, special occasion permits are submitted on a timely basis. Also, it's not just us, it is the norm now with alcohol. It used to be $1 million for general events and $2 million from alcohol. And that's kind of changed now where it's $2 million for other events and $5 million. It's kind of a standard, even with Ontario ORFA, Ontario Recreation Facilities Association. The recommendation with anything with alcohol is $5 million. So that seems to be the norm across the province at this time.
Thank you.
Okay, you have Councillor Bowman and Councillor Baker.
I know the insurance aspect is a burden for anybody renting our facilities and having alcohol, but the risk is there, and I think that's the bottom line that you have to look at. Most of the other provisions in the report are things that are required by the liquor licensing board, so there's nothing really there that is onus on us. It's really sort of guidelines by the licensing board itself, and most of the things, if you look through it, are exactly what we're required to do, whether it's the event out in here or the Fun Fest. Those are the types of things you have to go through. So it's sort of a standard across the province, or at least part of the province, let's put it that way.
Councilor Baker?
Thank you, through your worship. To administration. Yeah, Doug and Cynthia, thanks. Good job on this. I know a lot of work went into it. And I presented some questions earlier yesterday, and you answered most of those. Just a couple of issues that I'm still kind of having issue with is with regards to when you say in your policy here that alcohol, you would want a greater amount of less, how do you say, less alcoholic content in your sales in terms of the type of alcohol. How would we do that when it's strictly a wine event, because they're typically all the same level of alcohol? How does that be accomplished, number one?
Through your worship, if it's a strictly wine event, then wine is your low concentration level. It's when you have a mix of different alcohols. So if you have beer, we would want to recommend that they have a light beer available. So it's kind of depending on the event and what they want to offer.
So if you have wine, which is at 13%, and you have beer at 5%, you already have a lower alcohol content, do you not? Mix?
Through your worship, correct. That is correct. It's just it's a step to avoid overindulgence.
So, and I noticed in the policy, and it's just some language you're tweaking one, there's a couple of things there that you certainly want, they'd have to have place a safe a strategy for a get-home strategy, a driving strategy, in terms of offering to the public a way to go. And I think it's a great idea. You suggest taxis and whatnot. We have an issue in Harrow where we don't really have any, I would suggest, reliable taxi programs. Would this be something that they could provide as a service for hire? So cruise control, something. Is that what you're talking about, having a driving strategy? Okay, that's good, thanks. The other question was, you have a number of requirements for monitoring in terms of ticket sales, floor monitoring, servers, etc. And that's all based on Class A, B, and C events, and those are based on the number of people that will be attend. How do you determine that when it's an event that they don't know if there's going to be 300 or 1,000 in terms of the number of people, because you have a formula of how many people they need? Is that something that you work with them?
Through your worship. Yes, I think there's a certain amount that goes to planning for an event and being realistic of their expectations, and we try and promote with them to go with a higher amount to be on the safe side. But I think it's not very hard in most cases to try and predetermine the participation based on similar events or locations. So we try and provide a big enough range for them to be comfortable with, but also not underestimate